The shock. What if I told you that one of the poorest countries in the world, a country long ignored, dismissed, and underestimated, is now doing something many international institutions said was not realistic in Africa? What if I told you that Burkina Faso is accelerating road construction, reorganizing state priorities, and reclaiming control over key national decisions? And what if I told you that much of this is happening outside Western approval frameworks? Today we are going to look at what is actually happening in Burkina Faso, why some observers are comparing visible changes to places like Dubai, and why this shift caught many global powers off guard. This is not a story of miracles. It is a story of choices, constraints, and consequences. Burkina Faso, how it was seen. For decades, Burkina Faso was described using the same limited vocabulary: poor, landlocked, unstable, dependent. These labels were not entirely false, but they were incomplete. Burkina Faso has one of the youngest populations in the world. It has strategic mineral resources, especially gold. And it has a population shaped by decades of economic pressure and insecurity. What was missing was not effort, it was control. Development from the outside. For much of its post-colonial history, development followed an external model: foreign loans, foreign conditions, foreign consultants, foreign profit extraction. Infrastructure projects were often slow, fragmented, and externally managed. The results were visible. Debt increased. Institutions weakened. Public trust eroded. In many regions, basic connectivity, roads, transport, access to markets, never materialized. This was not unique to Burkina Faso. But in Burkina Faso, the consequences were severe. Security as a breaking point. From around 2015 onward, insecurity escalated rapidly. Large parts of the country became difficult or impossible to access. Millions were displaced internally. Schools and clinics shut down. Roads deteriorated or became unsafe. Despite years of foreign military involvement, security continued to worsen. For many citizens, a critical question emerged. If outside help was present, why was daily life collapsing? This question changed everything. Power shift, 2022. In 2022, a military takeover brought Ibrahim Traoré to power. At 34 years old, he became the youngest head of state in the world. His rise did not happen in a vacuum. It came after prolonged insecurity, public frustration, a loss of confidence in existing partnerships. From the beginning, his messaging focused on three priorities: security, infrastructure, sovereignty, not ideology, functionality. Why infrastructure became central. One of the most visible changes under the new leadership was the emphasis on roads. This was not cosmetic. In a country like Burkina Faso, roads determine whether security forces can move, whether farmers can sell crops, whether markets function, whether the state exists beyond the capital. Road construction accelerated. Projects were secured militarily. Local labor was prioritized. Timelines shortened. Compared to global standards, the scale is modest. Compared to Burkina Faso's own recent past, the difference is stark. The Dubai comparison. This is where the comparison begins, and where it is often misunderstood. Burkina Faso is not becoming Dubai. There are no skyscrapers, no luxury districts, no oil wealth. The comparison comes from speed and visibility. People see roads appearing where none existed, state presence returning to neglected regions, projects completed rather than abandoned. Dubai itself was not built by aid. It was built through centralized decision-making and control over resources. The parallel is not wealth, it is governance style. Following the money. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's largest gold producers. For years, much of the value flowed outward through foreign-owned operations. The current government has reviewed mining arrangements, increased state involvement, treated gold as a strategic asset rather than only an export. This does not create instant prosperity, but it changes who decides where money goes. Infrastructure spending is now framed as a security necessity, not a development favor. International reaction. Western governments and institutions raised concerns about democratic legitimacy, human rights, media freedom. These concerns are not without basis. But the intensity of criticism increased notably after the removal of foreign military forces, the rejection of established partnerships, the reorientation of state priorities. This pattern is familiar across the global South. Countries are tolerated when they are weak. They are questioned when they become independent. The human reality. For ordinary Burkinabe citizens, ideology matters less than outcomes. Can they travel safely? Can goods reach markets? Can children attend school? Progress is uneven. Some regions remain deeply affected by violence. Others show cautious improvement. This is not a success story. It is a high-risk transition. Why this story matters. Burkina Faso is not an isolated case. Alongside other Sahel states, it represents a broader challenge to inherited systems of security and development. If this model fails, it will be cited as a warning. If it succeeds, it will inspire imitation. That is why the world is paying attention. Conclusion. Burkina Faso is not suddenly rich. It is not suddenly stable. And it is not suddenly Dubai. What it is doing is attempting something difficult, rebuilding state capacity under pressure, with limited resources. On its own terms, the outcome is uncertain. But one thing is already clear: the old assumptions no longer hold.